Okay. Thanks, Emily. I think I talked over you twice there. I see you've started the recording.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to wait just another minute because it's not quite 11:15.
Should I turn it off for now?
I think you're fine, Emily. We'll just keep it going. It is 11:15. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 task force members. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. I am calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 11:15 on December 4th, 2024, and I'm Barbara Neal. As a reminder, the meeting's being recorded, and that recording will be posted on the task force webpage following the meeting. So let's start with a roll call of task force members. Please verbally acknowledge your presence when I call your name. Jen.
I'm here.
Paul White.
I am here.
Okay. Jim Mack.
I'm here.
Great. Ron Kumitz.
I am here.
Morning. Mike Dunges.
Here.
Excellent. And I think that takes us through all of the task force members that are present today. Michael Wright did say he would be here. I don't yet see him on the call, but perhaps he'll join in a minute or two. Also joining us today is Emily Mullaney as our administrative support, and our project management partners, Rick and Dom from Televate. Morning. And I see from Mission Critical this morning, let's see, I see Jason Malloy, Phil Sisk, and that looks to be it from Mission Critical. Morning. And let's see.
Bonnie Maney might be joining us here shortly. She's committed on another call right now.
Okay, great. All right, thanks. Okay, and I see one member of the public, Joe Allsworth. Would you introduce yourself and any affiliation you care to share?
Yep, my name's Joe Allsworth. I'm the president of Capital Fire Mutual Aid. I'm also deputy fire chief for the city of Barrie.
Great, thanks for joining us. I do not see any other members of the public on the call right now, so we will move on to approval of the agenda. So the agenda was distributed to task force members by email. It is also available on our webpage. Do task force members have any changes to the agenda? Ready? Hearing nothing, we'll consider it approved. We'll consider the agenda approved and move on to approval of the minutes. This is from the November 20th, 2024 meeting. That's regular meeting number 39. Any changes
needed? The minutes as presented.
Thank you, Mike.
Seconded.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from November 20th, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I see.
Aye.
Okay, I see Jim, Jen, myself, hands up. I hear Mike Dunges with an eye. And we are good to go. Those minutes are approved. On to public comment. Joe, would you like to share anything with the task force today?
Nope, I'm just happy to be here and I'm here to listen. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, then. Seeing no other members of the public here, we'll move on to project updates, and I'll hand it off to you, Dom.
Okay, thank you, Barb, and good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving holiday. In terms of project updates, we have a lot going on, as you saw in our status update and as you're experiencing, I'm sure, with emails and activity. We have the third community listening session scheduled, and that is for this Friday, 12/6. That's the third and final community listening session. And we are heavily working, planning the workshops. We held the first workshop, the Lessons Learned workshop, in November 11/22, and got some great input there. We are also working actively to schedule the operations and governance workshops. The invitees, the selected members have been invited, and scheduling poll has been sent out. We are currently working that to determine the best time to schedule that. Those will likely occur next week. At least one will occur next week, possibly both. We have to work through that. Also, the technology workshop, we're working to schedule that as well. The introductory email to the selected invitees has gone out. A scheduling poll for that will go out shortly. And we also have the coverage workshop, which will be scheduled. That invitation should go out shortly, and then we'll work on a scheduling poll also. We also have a dedicated workshop for very active members of the public, which we anticipate scheduling for this Friday as well, 12/6. Now, all task force members should have received an email on or last week. I think it actually came on Thanksgiving Day. It was actually on the 28th. The revised schedule had planned for delivery of the draft inventory and assessment report on the 29th. You received that on the 28th. And I know many of us have been active reviewing that. It's very lengthy. There's 3 portions to the report. As I'll call it, the primary or main section that highlights the assessments for each of the 37 PSAP/dispatch centers. That's about 500 pages or so. There's a separate wireless systems report, which is about 250 pages. A lot of maps there that you'll find. And there's also a cybersecurity assessment report that was distributed separately. That's on the shorter side, about 30 pages or so. Our commitment is to get MCP comments by this Friday, by 12/6. A comment sheet was included with the distribution of the report. So members of the task force, as well as Televate, can use that form to record comments. Televate will be collecting and consolidating those comments, which will be sent back to MCP on this Friday. I do want to discuss the exact schedule for that. Barb, maybe that's better at a later time, but generally we need to get the comments to them by this 6th, Friday the 6th. And one other item, the stakeholder update for November was distributed as well earlier this week. I believe that captures most of the things ongoing.
Okay.
I have happy to answer any questions from the task force member.
Questions for Dom? Dom, was your comment? Go ahead, Rick.
So I'm reviewing the poll, the results of the scheduling poll for both the operations and the governance, and of course, ironically, the best time available for both groups was the same day and time frame. So we're sorting through that to give back a recommendation. in one situation, in one day, we've got everyone that we invited is available. And at the same time, all but one person is available. So, I'm gonna, I'll get back and we'll get back to you with recommendations, or for, for decisions to be made on how we want to go, whether or not we split one meeting up and have it twice, or whether we just move it over and unfortunately not have one or two people that we'd like to have there. But that's just the irony of the polls. And so when the next invitation that goes out today for 2 additional workshops, those times will be removed. So I would like to, decide on those before, sooner than later. And we can discuss accordingly today.
Okay.
Dom, I think,
Uh,
Rick, you're raising an important point about availability of the people we really want to hear from to inform our work. And so I think we have to be nimble enough to divide and conquer. If that date and time is the time that both groups can meet, then we need to get 2 to 3 task force members in each meeting, split Televate and split MCP assets. So if that's when people are willing to come to the table, I think that's what we need to do.
I hear you on that. Unfortunately for Jason, the day that works best for both is the time that he's not available. So, Bonnie, we've already prearranged that Bonnie would be available these times. This one day, the one date, which is next Monday at 2 p.m. Was the best time for both the governance and the workshop of the operations group. So, if we move one of those to another day, we'll lose a couple of members. So even that date for Ruth Hardy, she wasn't available. So, I think it's a matter of a trade-off. But you're absolutely right. If we have to do 2 one day, we'll have to figure out how best to do it. If Bonnie facilitates one, and Jason could provide another facilitator, Phil, or whether Dom or I facilitate, we can split them up so that we do 2 at the same time. But that's something we should really decide on.
Yeah, and we certainly have other resources that we can pull in. So certainly, especially for the session that I'm not available for, don't let that hold up the scheduling, especially if that's when everybody else is available. But we certainly we've got other assets that we'll pull in.
okay.
Thanks for that.
I say then we go with Jen's plan to divide and conquer and run these 2 at the same time. Does that make sense?
So for the operations, on Monday, I'm sorry, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. No, I'm sorry, my bad. From 2, so that's 2 to 4.
2 to 4.
We have for 2 to 4 for the operations. Everyone we've invited is available. On the governance, we haven't heard back from Mike McCarthy yet, but at the same time on Tuesday from 2 to 4, we're still missing Ruth Hardy and Aaron Frank for that session. But if we shift to another time frame, we lose an additional member. So we, either way, no matter shifting, no matter how we do the governance, we're going to not have 2 members of the team so far. So it's I could forward you. I'll take a snapshot of this and forward it over so we can decide. But yeah, it's either way on the governance. We don't have everybody every day. It just so happens we had the fewest folks unavailable at the same time frame as the operations.
Why don't we take it
Anyway.
offline? And Barb and
Yeah.
Paul
Yeah, we'll
and I
take it
can
offline.
Sort it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's best. And Dom, you had mentioned a sort of, I think you were going to say a coordination of how we're going to get the feedback to Mission Critical on the draft
Mhm.
report. I'm wondering if we can finalize that plan when we meet tomorrow during our touch base meeting at 2:00. Does that make sense?
Well, I think all task force members need to be involved, because we need to set some timeframes. For example, our commitment is to get the comments back to MCP on the 6th. So Jason, I assume you're thinking by close of business on the 6th. Is that what you're looking for?
That's correct. And if it takes you through, Saturday morning or something, to get all of the comments combined and into a single document to send off to us, that's fine.
Well, if we target close of business, then in order for Televate to have some time to consolidate those, we would hope to get task force member inputs by sometime midday on Friday, noon or 1:00. I guess I'll ask for input from the task force members if that seems reasonable.
I'll just start this conversation by saying we are going to move into executive sessions shortly to discuss some aspects of the draft report. So there will be some feedback generated there,
Right.
but you're talking about the individual worksheets
That's correct.
that may have more granular feedback. Okay.
Yes.
So
So
with
if I
that
could add to
said,
that, Barb, Dom and I
Mhm.
have got, we have individual comments on worksheets, and we discussed it before the meeting. As I sent out to the task force late last week, I mean, just fill it out and ship it to us, and we'll consolidate and remove duplicates and highlight areas that we may want to discuss further. For example, on some of my comments, I've got questions for the task force. How do we feel about this? And what are our thoughts about that? So there may be we may want to have another session on Friday with the task force just to go through the consolidated, or if there's any conversations that we may not address in executive summary. That's a decision we can make. But I'd certainly like to hear from the, task force members, how they're progressing, whether they have any questions. Are they going to have an issue making, the deadline? And how can we help them if they need some additional guidance and help?
So the sheet itself was very helpful. It was organized really well, and mine is complete
Yep.
for the report. But I will not have time between now and Friday to dig in, nor do I actually think I'm qualified to dig into maps, and the appendices are eluding me a bit. So
Yeah.
the primary report, I can ship you that tonight, my feedback.
Sure.
But I make no guarantee of having reviewed the appendices yet.
You're
There are
missing out on
others.
the fun. That's where the most fun is, reviewing those
No,
massive
I
tables.
had fun. I had my fill of fun on the actual report.
Very thorough, very detailed. Dom and I have a number of comments. So like I said, we got together 45 minutes ago and we began talking about it. So we're communicating regularly every day. So since we received it, so we're good.
Why don't we just do this? Why don't task force members, is there anyone who can't get them their feedback by early on Friday, like not 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon? That doesn't leave you much time. We should strive to get them feedback by Monday morning. I'm sorry, by Friday morning. And then Dom and Rick, if there are things that pop out after you've smushed our feedback together,
Mhm.
how does the task force feel about, etc. We might have to just have a couple phone calls with people. I just don't see being able to pull together a meeting on Friday afternoon
Makes sense.
Right.
before shipping
Well-
to MCP. But it's not. We can talk about it after we've provided the feedback to MCP, and
Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
Rick,
Jason,
you've identified some of those questions for task force already, so we could
yeah.
review those today once we go into executive session.
Yeah, exactly. And Jason, if we, if we give you a document that's 95% complete and we're still mowing around a couple of items that we need to discuss further, that we could follow up with something separate so that we give you, most, if not, all. But if we've got a few stragglers, we could feedback early next week if that would be okay on your end.
Yeah, that's fine. And we do that quite often with a lot of our clients where we'll get the bulk of the comments so that we can start working towards addressing those items. And then, a day or two later, business day or two later, if you get the remainder to us, then we'll work those items in on the back end of our review and we'll still be fine on our timeline.
All right. So, from just consider that's probably an expectation that we may need a little bit more time to give you everything, but by Friday we're going to give you certainly the significant portion of what we need to what feedback we have.
Okay,
Yeah, we're
great.
good
And
with
so
that.
Jen had asked the question of task force members whether or not there was anyone who could not meet a Friday morning deadline. Are we good with that for getting feedback? Nothing. I'll assume everybody's fine with it. Jim, you look like you're about to say something and I cut you off.
I was gonna say, I guess I'm as fine as I can be.
Okay,
It's just a lot of
Okay.
material.
it is. Yeah, for sure.
So, recommendations for those of you who may not have opened it yet. The primary report, the first 20, 30 pages, is a good read, explains the process and overview. And then after that is a review of every PSAP and comm center, with details. And Dom and I are studying all those details, so that may not be of the greatest importance for the task force, but I would focus on the beginning section. I think the cybersecurity document is worth a review. It's very interesting. And on the radio coverage, there's a lot of maps. It's a big file, and it's probably worth skimming, but there's not as much detail as there is, in the inventory. So if you get through the first 20, 30 pages of the inventory document, there's really a lot of detail there, and maybe skim the appendices just to give you some guidance, because we got, nearly 1,000 pages of information. So there's just no way there's no way you need to go through it all. Dom and I are going through it all, and we've got some questions for everyone.
Okay, excellent. All right, any questions from task force members for Televate? And Jason, did you have anything to add to the project updates? Or are you good with where we are?
No, I think Dom covered it well. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. We will move on then to new business. Do task force members have any new business for today? Right?
I don't have new business. The new business would be that the meeting on Friday, there are people signed up for it.
Yes.
And we are arranging the appropriate translators, etc. So far, there's only 4 people, I believe, that have registered. Obviously, myself and my team will be registering, but we aren't, we don't need to be counted in the head count. So that third listening session will be happening Friday.
Okay, great. All righty. Anything else? Okay, the next agenda item is an executive session placeholder. Jen, I think you have a motion for us to consider.
I do. I move that we enter into executive session to discuss the first draft of the inventory report from MCP. I'm making this motion because the draft report is directly related to critical infrastructure in the state, and public release may impact the security of those systems. Specifically, I am moving to enter an executive session to discuss records exempt from public access and security measures, the disclosure of which could jeopardize public safety pursuant to Title I VSA Section 313A6 and A10. This motion includes task force members in executive session, as well as our administrative support, Emily, as well as Dalman Rick from Televate, and those present from Mission Critical Partners on this call.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Paul. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor then of moving into executive session as outlined in the motion, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
I,
All righty. We will move to executive session. There is a separate link for executive session on your calendars if you're a task force member. Emily, do our partners have that link as well?
I believe so. Let me double check.
We do. Televate does.
Televate does. Mission Critical, you're all set?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Yeah, we do not have that.
Emily, do you have enough information to forward that executive session invite to Jason, Phil, and Bonnie?
I'm Siri. Okay,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
sorry. And yes, I do have that information.
Okay, great. If you forward that invite, then we will see everyone in executive session. Joe and Kim, we can let you know when we're out of executive session and back in regular if you'd like.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We'll
Good.
send out a notice when we're coming back to this session. All right, we will move over to executive session then. We'll see you over there in a bit.
What can I do for you? Yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, Paul, it's Kim. I'm looking for the follow-up to your case of St. Albans versus Northwestern Regional. I thought it was Tomasi, but it was a local application for the Public Safety Authority. I can't find the case and I can't remember the title. If you could help me in my old age, I would appreciate it. Thank you. 802-272-3762. Bye.
I'm back into my next meeting.
Good one. Oh, you're still doing that.
Back. To be. Okay. Sorry, I'm pulling up the agenda again. So we are out of executive session. We don't have any action from that to discuss. We're going to confirm the next meeting date is December 18. And if there's nothing further, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Seconded.
Thank you. All right, all in favor of adjourning, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
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 See
Aye.
hands up and ayes are heard. And so we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. And we will talk to you all soon.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.